Detective Comics 1106, Tom Taylor writing with MIKEL JANÍN on the art. And this is the final part of the arc. This is the big conclusion to the fearless gas, for lack of a better term. I don't know if they ever give it a name that I remembered, but that's what I'm calling it.
No.
So, the city is already been infected, as that was the real last issue, and everyone's in danger because they're losing fear. There's a really nice segment here at the start where Batman's saying, like, you know what, fear does hold us back in some ways, and it shows some examples, like someone working up the courage to propose, someone working up the courage to leave a spouse they don't like, someone finding courage to do whatever, right? To come out to their parents was another example. But then it's like, but also it protects us in other ways. Like, there's a kid who's just like climbing off the side of a roof or whatever. There's a scientist turning his back on Killer Croc. There's, so it's like, clearly there's good things and bad things about fear, but it is like an essential tool that we do use as human beings. And then it actually pivots into an interesting bit of social commentary where Vandal Savage basically orders, because there's a mob of people who have been angry at the current, commissioner and like what the city's been doing with its police force. They're storming City Hall, or the police station. They're going through the streets wanting justice because they've got no fear anymore. They just want to go and confront them. And Vandal Savage literally just tells the police force to shoot to kill. Right? You have authorization to open fire, and because they have no fear either, they don't fear any repercussions. And Gordon storms into Savage's office and says, take that order back. You cannot tell them to kill civilians, and punches him, which also is a sign that he has no fear, because Savage is a pretty big scary dude. Admittedly.
Yeah, and Jim's been through some things. Yeah. He ain't the same guy that,
Admittedly, though, I do think Gordon would have the balls to try punch Vandal Savage anyway, but still it fits into what we're doing here, for sure. So,
the way that Savage says, I'm not afraid of where he goes, I'm not afraid of the mayor. I was like, okay, well, either that's the gas speaking or that's just Savage going full mask off, right? Because he was already putting some of the stuff into motion. But I do like that at that point, like you were talking about the social commentary, like when things come up to a boiler like this, there are people in power that are not afraid of being held accountable because they know that they're not.
Well, because later in the issue, we just straight up get these shots of a police lineup and the civilians marching towards them, and it does feel like we're getting into sort of proper civil unrest and all that stuff. And I think it fits in really well here. It makes a lot of sense, and because we have this villain who's the leader of the police force right now, it's very easy to frame it that way of hey, look at how dodgy and corrupt the system is right now. Before we get to that, though, we've got Batman's okay, Hail Mary, I need to save the city, I need to fight this guy. So he just basically says, screw it, I'm taking some Scarecrow fear toxin to counterbalance this fearlessness that I've got. And the lion's oh, that seems like a bold move. I don't know if that's going to work. And we have Batman in his head going through all these things that he's went through, his parents, Bane breaking his back, Joker, Catwoman, Alfred, so on. And he sees Lion be a literal monstrous lion. We get this big panel, Yanin going nuts with the art, with this big claw. And when I say lion, it's like a lion on two legs, but he's standing up and the claws coming down like a monster,
like a were-lion.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, actually, like a were-lion.
Yeah. Can I also say that I love Taylor and Yanin's restraint of showing the Waynes loving a young Bruce, right? That mom and dad are there and they're looking at him affectionately, and we didn't go to Crime Alley, I
don't know, Matt. I think the thing that would have tied this issue together was some pearls hitting the ground. I really want to see pearls.
But she is wearing the pearls. That's what got me.
Of course she's wearing the pearls. Yeah. How else do you know it's Martha Wayne if she's not wearing pearls, Matt? Right?
True. But yeah, I just want to give that restraint. And then the pager, that's all green, right? That matches the Scarecrow gas.
Yeah.
To then the red on the next page with the were-lion and stuff, and just it's almost enough to give you whiplash with the colors, but Yanin makes it work because it's so stark. Yeah. It snaps you out of that fear into this.
Little touch just in the build up to that page is when Batman injects himself with a fear toxin. It's got a yellow border, and then the three panels at the bottom of that page are the first one's yellow, then it's kind of in between yellow and green, then the last one is green and has got more wavy lines around it, and then then you get the full page of the green with all the visions in his head. So it actually does this transition of like the almost like the toxins quickly taking effect. So really nice little touch. Nice little touch. So Batman is like, okay, you know what? I fear failure now. This is kind of working. It's not a perfect solution, but it's working well enough that I actually is counteracting it a little bit. So he starts fighting Lion, and I kind of love that he's like, I'm fighting this guy. This guy is not worth my time. Right, I need to save the city. This is not me fighting Ra's al Ghul, a worthy opponent. This guy is not worth the effort. So he just like brings the Batmobile in and remote control and hits him with it. And he's like, all right, that's you, knocked out. I'm going to go to rubber Batman things now.
The way that I laughed when he gets hit by the car, it's just like that's the Bruce, good job. That's proper use of automatic driving.
It was just a really funny bit. And it's not like it's like sort of saying the villain is not a threat. I mean, but it's okay for him to say, hey, he's not like if Batman's at his best, right? Because obviously he's had this gas in him, like this poison for the last like several issues. He's not fought this guy at full Batman strength. And if he did, like, you know, he realizes that he's wasting time just doing like a fair fight. He's like, okay, do you know what? There's more important things to do right now. Bang. Beep, beep.
Wasting time with a fair fight is a hell of a sentence.
Yeah.
I love that. But he even starts and he's like, Wildcat trained him well, but I don't have time for this. He's like, I'm not going to sit here and go blow for blow. I'm Batman, goddammit. Yeah. And he's going to hit him with the car. Like, I love it.
Yeah. So he gets to Damien. He then gets to, he calls Babs and says, no, everyone disengage. You're all infected. Get back to like base. But he's got Mr. Terrific with the plan, which is like, hey, this is not a perfect solution, but we have to make them feel fear again. So Mr. Terrific's got the chemtrails approach here, where they're dousing the entire crowd with Scarecrow fear toxin, which is just wild. It's like, hey, it's very good that we built that nuclear weapon because one day we really needed to use it.
Yep. So this just goes back to the last issue when Batman tells his plan. And everyone's like, you're crazy, you're crazy. But Crane's just like, I love it. Because this is all Crane's ever wanted to do to Gotham, right? So, of course, he's just like, yeah, dude, let's douse Gotham and we'll get to see what I want. And like, that's just, again, Tom Taylor, perfect.
The way you said I love it was very reminiscent of Frank Drebin saying, I love it, when he's getting patted down after he swam through the sewage in Naked Gun 2.5. I just want to point that out.
There you go.
That's all I heard when you said that.
That's a compliment.
You get Gotham's Times Square, where Batman, after they've all been doused with Scarecrow toxin, Batman gets on like the screens and is like, citizens of Gotham, go home. Like, and it's like, all right, they're all going to listen because they're all scared of Batman now. So, and they all run in fear. And it's like, okay, this isn't obviously an ideal solution. And I'm like, we can't just say that this counteracts it and we stick with that, right? No, turns out the solution to this is that the Lion had actually sent the cure to Bruce Wayne because he likes Bruce Wayne, right? And there's a whole sequence here where Batman goes back to Lion and his narration says, hey, part of me wants to whip off this cowl and show that I'm Bruce Wayne and like make him struggle with the idea that he loves and hates the same person and get into that. But, you know, he doesn't, right? And I actually love the final line of this where Batman in his narration says, and in that moment, I can't tell whether it's cowardice or courage that stops me. I love that he doesn't know, am I doing that? Am I not taking this cowl off out of fear of what it might mean? Or am I being brave enough because I know it's the wrong thing to do?
To leave it on.
Yeah, I really like I'm not being sure. And it makes sense because he's got both the poison and the fear toxin at the same time.
Well, and he's not being driven by either, right? So it's almost like that gives him the clarity, but he can question it. So I do like that because... yeah, it would have been easy for him just to be like, look, I'm Bruce Wayne and Batman, and no one's ever going to believe you, right? Because you're going to Arkham Tower and whatever. But no, he's just like, let it go. And I like the way that he does handle it, you know, where he goes and visits him later as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, although not before figuring out that the whiskey or whatever it is that the Lion sent him was the cure. And Terrific's able to obviously analyze it and duplicate it. So, you know, the implication is that between the time jump, because it's 2 weeks later when Bruce goes to see Lion at Arkham Tower, that everyone's back to normal now. But but you know, Lion's happy to see him, and you know, they talk about how we're both, you know, victims of Gotham. You know, you had your thing with your parents, I had my thing. This city scared both of us, and he basically makes it clear that he's not done trying. Like, he still wants to do, like, you know, fulfill his goal. And the final panel, or the final page even as a whole, they both turn into their children's selves. I mean, they're still wearing their same clothes and all that. It's just a visual gimmick, basically, but it works. Yeah.
It's commentary that at the end of the day, there's still these two scared kids that came from Gotham. You know? Yeah. Leo was afraid because Batman took his dad, and then Bruce was afraid that the city, you know, and all its corruption took his parents. And look at what it's done to them, right? They both did great things. One of them, you know, they're both very different great things, but great nonetheless. And so, yeah, I like that it shows them on that level. And just the idea that Leo has is like, well, nobody should be afraid of Batman, right? That's not anything people should be. So how am I always going to go around? So if, you know, any other writer wants to bring him back, this concept of the Lion, there's an easy hook.
Yeah, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if, like, Taylor himself whips back around to him by the end of his detective run. You know, it wouldn't shock me if that happens. I think what I would say is that I love this issue. I think this, I don't know which one I prefer more, but this and the first issue of the arc are the two best issues. Like, all the ones in the middle were good, but I think that first issue with the bow and the mystery was really good and creepy. And then this one, I think, actually brought all the story threads around, and the action was really fun. The idea was great. And then obviously Janín's just obviously a great artist, so everything looked great with all the visions of the Scarecrow toxin and the crowds and against the police. All that stuff looked fantastic. And it felt like it was doing some relevant storytelling, because it was like, oh, this idea of, like, not being happy with what the establishment are doing feels very relatable right now. Yeah. So yeah, all of it works. Yeah, it's like that thing, you know, where he's out of line but he's right. You know, it's kind of how I feel with the Lion, right? Like, there's noble intentions there. He's just not going about it the right way. And it's all real good. But I really, the more I think about the arc as a whole, all of the misleading stuff that we did with the Lion early on, where he's, you know, Batman's going around and tracing him down like he's this gambler and he's run casinos, and there's all this misinformation and stuff. I really liked how it set it up that he was just this kid from Gotham, right? And he's so similar to Bruce, because it's kind of what Bruce did, right? Where Bruce went out and around to turn himself into Batman. It's very similar, you know. So yeah, but ultimately, I think you know, the Lion's whole thing, it doesn't feel like, obviously his is going to lead to more bad things, because if no one has fear, everyone's just going to end up getting themselves killed one way or another. Right. So, you know, Batman's tactic might not be perfect, but, you know, he constantly kind of, like, has to deal with the consequences of his actions and sees what happens, because, you know, he grows and evolves because of that. Whereas it feels like the Lion's a little bit more maniacal, I guess, where he's a bit more hell-bent on just achieving what he said he's doing. Whereas Batman's like, no, I declared war on crime and I'm going to fight that war forever. But it's never just like, you know, one big thing and he's done kind of thing. So yeah, no, very good, very good. I think this arc really, like, I mean, I like the first arc and the little interlude arc that we had, but I think this was the best arc of Taylor's Detective Comics so far. I really like this issue. All right, Matt, what are you giving Detective Comics? I'm gonna give it an 8.5. Yeah, I think I got 9. I think I'm going with.